So things have been pretty quiet on the WNBA CBA front, which I take as a good sign. Remember before there was all this back and forth and you're not negotiating, you're not sharing, this offer is insulting, slap in the face. All that is quieted in the midst of this delay or the extension of the negotiation period. And now that that clock is starting to wind down, I would expect a little bit more action. But the positive signs have come out. A new report from the Associated Press says that the offer on the table for the players has a maximum salary of over $1 million, includes revenue sharing and a minimum salary that is basically equivalent to what the old maximum was. I suspect this was a leak from the league to put some pressure on the players, but nonetheless, the picture it paints is one that makes me think a deal can get done. So you have to actually look at the numbers, obviously, and each side is always going to spin it the way that they see most beneficial for them, or how they can get the public pressure going their way, or how they can get the narrative spun their way. I mean, you go back to the pay us what you owe us shirts at the All-Star game. What was the purpose of that? The purpose of that was awareness. The purpose of that was to get the public on their side, those sorts of things. And in this case, you could see it, and I don't know this as for sure, but the way I read this situation is it is the league saying, hey, here's what we're offering. It's pretty good, right? And that puts a little pressure on the players the other way around. Like it's the flip side, reverse Uno. And I can see why that would be an effective technique if you actually look at what the deal says. This is, or what is being reported. Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press, the WNBA's latest collective bargaining proposal would include revenue sharing. So that's a big hang up. It would include revenue sharing. Now, we don't know what the revenue sharing number is there, right? Like, so that is a big piece of information that is missing, that we don't know what the revenue share deal is, because we know that the players have wanted more and all that, but revenue sharing was a massive sticking point. So you can see why, that's leading the story. Would include revenue sharing. It's in the first sentence. In fact, before you even get to the numbers, that's something to think about. 1.1 million available to more than one player per team, growing each year. That's the max salary, according to a person familiar with the negotiations on Tuesday night. Now, if you look at the max salary this past year, I mean, it was Kelsey Mitchell made the max salary, right? For the Indiana Fever, and her salary was $270,000. 269,000. So a new max salary at 1.1 million is a huge jump from what that was, and more than one player per team. So you're not capped at that, and it grows year by year. So look, you're not going to get everything in one deal. That is a big raise for the players. WNBA officials updated the board on the latest proposal at meetings this week. The person told the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity, because ongoing negotiations are private, the new league minimum would be more than $220,000, with an average of more than $460,000. Again, that you heard that number I just said, Kelsey Mitchell, $269,000 maximum. Well, $220,000 is now the minimum, according to this deal. People familiar with the WNBA's latest proposal describe the plan to the AP as a highly lucrative package, providing substantial increases over prior years and designed to bring negotiations to a quick conclusion. I don't have all the details, so I can't tell you for sure whether this will be accepted, rejected, any of those things, whatnot. But it certainly seems like a step in the right direction. And it certainly seems like the beginnings of a good deal for the players, if not close to the finish line of a good deal for the players. In any negotiation, nobody's going to get exactly everything they want. And I think in CBA negotiations, you almost have to, you get part of it one time, you get the rest of it the next time around. But if there is indeed revenue sharing and it's up to snuff and it's not like tricks here, and those salary numbers are accurate, which I'm sure they are, I think this gets done relatively soon. Especially when, that doesn't mean they won't go back and forth. That doesn't mean they won't ask for more. That doesn't mean there won't be, a couple of public things put out there. But with that deadline approaching again and this deal being put on the table, I think we're headed to a resolution. And I think the silence was telling. That's how I read the tea leaves, that things were getting done. Real G's move in silence like lasagna. So I took that way. And also you have the draft lottery coming up this weekend. So that's something to pay attention to. The WNBA draft lottery, which will be a significant thing. And then on top of that, there's just, it's important, as I said over and over again. And the more these other side things come up, like Project B doesn't have the branding that the WNBA has. And they're playing on the other side, and unrivaled benefits from the WNBA. Let's be real about it. That WNBA branding is important. It is how people recognize the league. It's how people recognize the collection of players. It's how a lot of these players have made a bigger name for themselves. So losing, you can't just start another league. It's possible, but without Caitlin Clark signing up for it, Caitlin Clark signing up for another league is the only thing that would give it the push that it could actually reasonably compete with the WNBA in short order. Otherwise, that ain't happening. And it just behooves everybody to get this done and put to bed so that the free agency period, the expansion draft has to happen. You got expansion teams, so you need that. And then you need players to know where they're going to play and who they're going to get paid by. And free agency is going to be chaos. So you got to get that settled and underway. So we'll see. We'll see if the deal actually gets done in the not too distant future. But if I had to guess, I would say yes. We haven't heard anybody come out and crush Kathy Engelbert lately. We haven't heard the players say this is insulting. We haven't had the league say they're not working with us. And for this proposal to be made public in the way that it was, I do think it's strategic, and I do think it's effective, because I read it and I go, all right, bet. Now, I don't have the fine print. I don't know what the asks were and what the gives were versus the asks, but I do know common sense. And my common sense tells me that the bones, the skeletons of this proposal that's been put on the table will eventually be enough to put pen to paper. So let's just consider the WNBA season saved, the 2026 WNBA season saved. If it's not, you can blame me.